What up, though, Jake?
There we go. What's going on, though?
Uh, we have arrived at the fight day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you guys are lucky. It's raining here today, so I can't walk.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we have arrived at fight day.
Yeah.
All the talking is done with.
Yeah. I'm too kind.
The what do you call it? Old arguments of when they should have fought and 4 years ago and all this stuff. All this is out the window because they're actually fighting tonight. So we need to focus on this.
Yep.
Excuse me. What are you hearing on the ground there as far as ticket sales, anticipation, things of that nature?
I don't know how well I really haven't tracked how the ticket sales. It's look, there's a lot of buzz behind it. I mean, a lot of people watching. Everyone already knew the weights. A lot of people did tune in for the weigh-in, which was good because well, for better or for worse, Devin Haney actually gave everyone something to talk about. So there's been a lot of attention. I don't know how much of that is going to translate into pay-per-view sales, but there's definitely a lot of buzz. I mean, you can tell Top Rank has invested heavily in this fight. So we're seeing a lot of attention paid to the event itself. I don't know what that's going to mean as far as like financial success, though.
Yeah. I heard that I didn't know until yesterday that this is only available on the app.
Oh, that's so. It sounds like they're going like the UFC route. Then that's
yeah. So I'm still predicting pretty healthy. I'm predicting like 125 to 150, which is
that sounds about right. I was gonna say like anything over 200 should be. I mean, I don't know if Top Rank would consider it a financial success, but I would say anything over 200, like they should. I know, like Steven Espinoza was saying, like if well privately, that like if Tank Ryan Garcia did 800,000, he was going to do cartwheels. I don't know if 91-year-old Bob Arum is capable of doing cartwheels these days.
Oh, you say anything over 200K? I'm thinking like 125.
No, I'm with you. I expect 125 to 150. I'm saying for Top Rank, if this hits 200, that's like that should be a success.
That's blowing it out the water.
Exactly.
With it being only available on the app, that's more money in their pocket.
Yeah, and look, I don't follow UFC enough. I mean, to me, it seems like ever since they went the ESPN route, like their pay-per-view sales, if they were ever real to begin with, have gone down, with the exception of the very big event. But this, like I said, this isn't like they have the same start time. Like this pay-per-view starts at 10 p.m. Eastern. It's only 3 fights, so it's perfectly fine. But I don't know. I thought like it hindered, like Terrence Crawford even complained that he felt like it hindered his pay-per-view sales against Sean Porter, which I thought did decent, for the limited capacity it was in. But yeah, anytime you limit something like you have to subscribe to the app, it's the same thing as like going through the zone. I mean, we're seeing with Canelo, his pay-per-view sales have been way down, ever since he's done the zone pay-per-view.
I don't know. I think Devin versus Loma, if they did 125, the traditional route would be great.
Yeah,
it'd be good. But if they do 125, which I think around that for this app, it's going to be that's blowing it out the water right there.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
And I also heard ticket sales to the fight were brisk. So
yeah, they haven't been bad. It's not sold out, but it's it's definitely going to be Devin as far as like him being the complete A side. This is going to be his best event.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of buzz, man. It's a lot of buzz for this fight, and this is another point that the sport is still healthy, still growing. People love to shit on it, but the reality is a lot of people are watching boxing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I'm actually looking at the map now. It's ticket sales are good. They're respectable. It looks like I'd say maybe 75% sold. So MGM, that's a decent size arena too. It's not like he's fighting in a ballroom. So,
not like he's fighting at the Cosmo.
Yeah, exactly.
So another thing is, we got the news today that Cecilia Brækhus. What was going on with that?
Right. So they both weighed in yesterday. They both seemed perfectly fine. I guess something happened in the past 24 hours. Cecilia woke up this morning. She just like everything was, felt off. Like she said, she feels like she has the flu, her ear, nose, throat, like the whole works. And she had to cancel her fight. So it's, I feel horrible for her because, the show will eventually go on for Terry Harper. Obviously, she wanted to, Katie Taylor is one of the heroes. She wanted to be on the show. But Terry Harper at least will still get to fight next week. It doesn't sound like this fight is just going to get pushed back 1 week because you don't know how long it's going to take for Cecilia Brækhus to recover. So, yeah, that fight is no longer on tonight's Chantel Cameron and Katie Taylor show in Dublin. So, All the best to Silly Breaker. She's one of the classiest, fighters in the sport. So I feel horrible. I feel horrible for any fighter that has to wake up that way and know that they can't fight after they've done everything right. But yeah, it's just, terrible scenario for the two of them.
Yeah. So everybody that had her in y'all parlays, that bet is now voided.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and again, so Terry, and to those who want to, try to hold that. I don't know how betting work. Like if the fight happens a week from now, if you still have to place another bet, but they are not going to be fighting next week. So Terry Harper will presume. I don't know if she's even going to have another title fight next week, or she's just going to fight just for the sake of keeping her in the ring. But
yeah. Okay, all right. Let's get that little card out the way. Katie Taylor over there in Ireland against Chantel Cameron. What else is on the undercard?
Not much. Gary Cully is in I think he's fighting Jose Felix. The undercard is kind of weak, to be honest. There's a couple of good showcase opportunities for fighters, but nothing, it's not like a big blockbuster undercard. The driving force, obviously that title fight falling off is a huge blow to the undercard. But, I said it even when I interviewed Katie, like Katie could have fought my broom. And, she, that event was still going to sell out. Obviously the big selling point here is, finally getting to fight in Ireland for the first time in her pro career. So, and it's odds-wise, I'm surprised she's as much of a favorite as she is. To me, I would think it's pretty much a 50-50 fight. She's moving up. Chantel Cameron is clearly the best 140-pound fighter in the world. So I think she's a lot better than Christina Leonardo, who Katie looked good but not great against. And that was 3.5 years ago. So this is a very, very tough fight. Like I said, for her to, that not only did she want to take this opportunity, but she went out of her way to call out Chantel Cameron the moment the Amanda Serrano rematch fell through. So, all credit to Katie. I mean, just an absolute credit to the sport. So I've had this date circle for a long time. I was supposed to go when it was the Amanda Serrano rematch. Even when the fight got rescheduled, I was still going to go to Dublin. Just things didn't work out that way. But, I'm happy that she's finally getting this homecoming. I think it's going to be a very competitive fight.
Okay. And you are on the ground in Vegas, correct?
No, I am not. I'm not anywhere. I am at home.
Okay, I thought you were in Vegas earlier.
No, not at all. Keith Heidick is in Vegas.
When you said you asked the Nevada Athletic State Commission about the Rolly.
Yeah, so they have their meeting every month. I listen in on the phone. At the end, there's an option. You press *6, and they open the floor to public comment. So I did that, and I asked them about the Rolly situation, and I was thanked for my feedback, and they will take it under advisement.
That's it. Just take it under advisement.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, so obviously I was asking about Tony Weeks' inexplicable stoppage of the Rolly Romero Ismael Barroso fight last weekend. So there were 2 title fights. So whenever there are fights in Nevada, when there are title fights in Nevada, and it's before the monthly agenda hearing, they assign the judges and referees at that meeting. So for that, we already knew Keith Heidick had already reported that Harvey Dock was going to be the referee for Devin Haney and Vasily Lomachenko. So then it was the other fight that was up in the air was the referee and judges for Andrew Maloney and Junto Nakatani. So they still had to do the whole dog and pony show of having Harvey Dock approved by the panel, which he was, for Haney Lomachenko. And then for Maloney and Nakatani, they had the referee and judges. Tony Weeks' name was not mentioned in either of those 2. And I even noted that to the commission at the end. I said, I appreciate that you guys have acknowledged what took place last weekend. So my question to them was, what is the review process when we get something scandalous like that? I mean, a lot of people whose opinions I respect, it's not hyperbole. They were saying like that was the worst stoppage they could ever think of. It was a horrible situation for Barroso. He's 40 years old. He's probably never going to get this opportunity again unless we somehow get a rematch. But ahead on all 3 scorecards, had dropped Rolly, got called for a bogus knockdown in the 9th round, and then the fight stopped when he landed the only punch in the final exchange. So I just wanted to see where the commission was at, since they refused comment to Showtime after the fight. And they said, well, we don't discuss that matter. We're forbidden from discussing that matter in a public forum. They thanked me for my feedback and opinion, and they said they will take all of it under advisement.
Okay. So all these cards this weekend, Tony Weeks is not refereeing any of them.
I don't know if he's under. So now this is the thing. For non-title fights, they don't review those judges during those meetings. So I'd have to wait to see the bout sheet to see who the other officials are. I have not heard that Tony Weeks is going to be involved. So usually in situations like this, most commissions will find a way to lower the temperature and, not have those guys involved. So maybe he'll be like ringside. I know like when this happened with Robert Byrd, when he officiated the Krzysztof Kowalski and Maris Bredas fight during the World Boxing Super Series where he just completely let that round go like way far too long. That whole controversy, like he was supposed to officiate fights. They had him as far as like the instant replay panel, whatever. Like he was like the supervisory judges for that night. So Tony Weeks, I'm sure will find a way to, I don't know if he's going to be ringside, but he's to my knowledge, he's not refereeing any of the major fights.
Okay. So what is the situation going on with Puello in the WBA?
That's for the WBA to decide. They have they said they're still working on it. His temporary suspension was extended until the next Nevada Commission meeting will be June 20th. It's going to be obviously sometime in June. I don't know the exact date, but it's going to be reviewed then. But the WBA is still taking all facts under consideration. So he's still the champion in recess. And again, this goes back to Barroso, where he stands. It's like he was the mandatory. Rolly was the one who was permitted as a voluntary title defense. So now that he has the title, like he's already talking about he wants to fight Ryan Garcia, whatever. Those fights are great, but he might have to give up the title because, I mean, Barroso he deserves a rematch, in my opinion, or at least another title shot. O'Hara Davies is a mandatory challenger. I know none of us care about these guys, but the fact is they paid a fee to enter these fights. They won those fights, and they were promised these title shots. So it's just a horrible situation. It was already a mess even before that stoppage. So now there's just, that line is even further backed up. So I don't know what's going to come of any of this. And then if the WBA decides that Puello deserves to be cleared, that creates an even greater problem. But as far as Puello, though, he's still champion of recess, and that is not going to change up until at least next month's commission hearing. So it sounds like the WBA might be, they might just want the Nevada Commission to rule on it before they make their own ruling.
Okay. Okay. And this was also the WBA that made the guys come in there and do an interview for a title shot.
Yes, that was the 6-person speed dial thing to plead their case why they should be the mandatory. And
sounds like
Puello and Batir Akhmedov were the ones that were chosen. And at that time, I agreed with it because Akhmedov was lower on the totem pole. They all tried to claim corruption, like especially Barroso's camp. But I'm like, well, Akhmedov owns a win over you. Like he knocked out Barroso. So I get that he lost in the meantime. He lost to Mario Barrios during then, and that dropped him down a little bit in the rankings. And Barroso won the gold title, which is the only reason why he was that high in the rankings to begin with. But yeah, like I said, this situation has been a mess ever since really the WBA has been trying to clean up all their titles.
Well, one thing that the Athletic Commission moved fast on was the fining of Devin Haney for pushing Lomachenko on the stage. Do you know what the fine was?
I did not see the fight. Those fines can range anywhere from 10 to I've heard I think even Mike Tyson was fined usually it's like 10, maybe 15%. But it's look, I made a joke on Twitter, like we're seeing a lot of people's true feelings are coming out. Let's be clear, it was stupid. It was like this wasn't a situation where Haney and Lomachenko were going back and forth all week. And like I was expecting something like that between Tank and Ryan Garcia, where you saw those guys kind of, that type of animosity was building up to, a certain moment. Haney, it was forced, in my opinion. Like, he's just trying to get inside Lomachenko's head. I don't know if he is or he isn't, but it was a stupid move by him, and he deserves to get fined. And that's what makes it even more stupid. Like, you do that shove, it's like you just gave away at least 10% of your guaranteed fight purse for tonight. So
I thought it was like when you said 10 to 15, I thought you was gonna say $10,000 to $15,000. 10 to 15%.
No, it's a big chunk, man. You lose a lot of money for doing stupid shit like that. So yeah, the Nevada and he did it right in front of the commissioner too. Like he, Jeff Mullen, the guy, he's already become a meme, like screaming on stage. Like that's the executive director of the Nevada Commission. He literally did it right in front of him. So they, like I said, it was stupid, but people are talking about it even more so.
Yeah, it was it was hilarious, but
yeah,
everybody's talking about it. Maybe you pick up some pay-per-view sales from it because Devin Haney is one of the co-promoters of the show.
Right, Devin Haney Promotions. Yeah. And the thing, like people were saying how stupid the ceremonial weigh-in is, but like the one piece of commentary before that moment, like they were saying, I think it was Tim Bradley who noted that Lomachenko kind of looked a little bit thick around his waist. Like he's not a true, I mean, he came in right at 135, but he's never been at his best at his weight. And like, that was like, if you're looking for like some type of analysis from a weigh-in, like we actually got it up until Devin Haney decided to, give him a 2-hand shove.
Yeah, it was. Right. I don't know. I'm excited for the fight.
Yeah, and none of us still know the truth. Like I know there's all sorts of rumors. Like Haney, he himself, he was the one that leaked it out that he was 134.9 at the real weigh-in, which was very early in the morning, especially for a Nevada commission. I think they did it 9 a.m. local time. But there's a rumor that it took him at least 2 tries. I got a feeling like if he doesn't re-sign with Top Rank, maybe we'll get the truth after this fight. But yeah, just all sorts of rumors of like how he actually made weight.
So nobody was in there?
No, none of the media was allowed. No fans were allowed. It was just the two, the fighter camps. I think everyone actually weighed in during that meeting. So, whatever, the real weigh-in. It wasn't just Haney and Lomachenko. So it was just the fighters and their immediate teams. Every once in a while, a media member can sneak in for something like that or kind of hang outside. I know last year, like with Chocolatito and Julio Cesar Martinez, it was Salvador Rodriguez and I were the only 2 media who somehow made our way to the, when Martinez had a re-weigh in that Saturday morning. But usually media, to my knowledge, media wasn't there. And then like once Haney kind of, leaked out what the weights were, then media started reporting after that.
Okay. Well, if he didn't miss weight, then we wouldn't have got the news so fast.
Correct. Yeah, 100%.
Usually it's like you get an hour to come back and try, up to an hour or 2 hours to come back and try. We had to wait within an hour of the scheduled time. So, and like IDIC reported that he just had to strip down to lose that 0.1. That 0.1.
Yeah. So that's where the narrative came. Lomachenko's like, oh, he needed 2 tries to make weight, so that's why everyone's starting to speculate about it.
Yeah, well, that's pretty normal, stripping down to make
right. And we've been saying, I've been saying for as long as this fight's been on the table that Devin Haney is on borrowed time at lightweight. That's been clear for quite a long time. Like the only reason he's sticking around at this weight is for a fight like this. We keep talking about Tank and Shakur Stevenson. I don't see him being a lightweight after tonight. He would have to make a massive amount of money. I know a fight with Tank is probably the biggest payday in the sport right now, but it would have to be well into 8 figures for him to stay at 135 any longer beyond tonight.
Okay. And what are you hearing about from Loma's team about the push?
Loma's taking the narrative that, he's the one that's inside Haney's head, that, Haney's trying to psych himself out and nothing he's done has worked. So there's been a lot of weird narratives. I know Haney's teams have been running with, Lomachenko's been running from me for 4 years. And, we all experienced what happened in 2019. We knew Haney wasn't going to get that fight next anyway. We saw the steps that Top Rank took to make sure that, they could preserve the Lomachenko Teofimo Lopez undisputed fight. So there's just been a lot of weird sidebars going into tonight. I kind of agree with people who say that, Devin Haney's looking for a reason to play the villain. I thought at times he's done well with it. Other times, especially like with last night, he's taking some silly steps. He's given reason people to not like him, but he doesn't care. He's perfectly fine playing this role. So he's the bad guy going into tonight. He's perfectly fine with that.
Okay. Well, what about like Aegis Cleaners? Has he commented on the push? Because if you notice, nobody's ever really, all along Loma's opponents have been nice to him. It's always been a cordial matchup. But Devin is actually trying to, get under Loma's skin. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and that's really changed, like in the past 2 to 3 weeks, because you even noted like how Bill Haney talks a certain way to Calvin Ford, but he doesn't talk that way to Lomachenko's team or to Aegis. Like he's very respectful in that regard. So there hasn't been that out of my like that. That switch just flipped. Like maybe in the past couple of weeks, and especially in the past couple of days. So you're never going to get that. I appreciate the fact they don't need to kiss Lomachenko's ass. They shouldn't have done it in the beginning, or at least Bill definitely shouldn't have. But you can be respectful without it being ass kissing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I do appreciate the fact that Devin Haney doesn't, like as you said, like other opponents, like they worship. It's like it's a privilege to fight Lomachenko. I appreciate the fact that he's going in saying I'm the champion. It's your right. It's your privilege to fight me. So
I agree. Yeah. Undercard we have Mortala versus Nakatala.
Yeah. One of these days you get those names right.
So let's say in a world where Devin Haney wins tonight and belts may end up being vacated, is this a fight to set up the winner fights for a vacant title against Shakur?
I don't know if anyone is in that position. See, here's the problem too. So many guys turn down the opportunity to fight Shakur. I don't know who is still in line, like who would have that right. Isaac Cruz is still very high in the rankings, even though like he was offered the eliminator for it. That was his eliminator. for other people to, fight him. Shakur just happened to be first in line, and he's the one that said, I'm not taking it. So that became Shakur's right to challenge for the title. So they're going to have to go through that whole process. But it does seem like, Isaac Cruz, whatever fights he did turn down, it was because of the belief that Haney's going to give up a belt. So, yeah, he can go fight Shakur Stevenson. He could fight Gustavo Limos. I don't know how far Murataya or Nakatila would move up in the rankings to have that say. So for now, it's going to be Shakur versus, whatever opponent is in position. Like we know, like if Devin Haney does give up both belts, like for example, Tank is already the WBA champ. There's no belt to fight for. That's already his. So then we have the race for the WBO belt. Murataya is not even ranked in the top 15 in the WBO. I don't see him ranked anywhere, to be honest. So he would be entering the rankings, which is, he's a prospect who's now on the verge of becoming a contender. So this would be his right to, become a top 15 contender. But no, so the short answer is no. He would not have first say on fighting for any of those belts.
Okay. And Adam Lopez and Oscar Valdez.
Yeah.
As expected, Oscar Valdez should win this fight.
Well, he should have won a lot easier in 2019 as well.
Yeah, that's true. But I think Lopez is not as good as he was back then. But do we get the Navarrete fight finally?
I do firmly believe that. I've heard certain whispers about like what's at stake, where that fight could even take place. But yeah, I've been of the belief, like people even someone asked last week, like what was next for Navarrete. He's absolutely waiting out this fight to see what's going on. If Valdez wins, we were supposed to get that fight earlier this year. So I firmly believe we will see that fight September, October, whenever Valdez will be ready to return to the
ring. Okay. Yeah. And also we have, Maloney versus Junto
Nakatani.
Yeah, which is probably which is a really good fight, one of the better fights on the card.
Yep.
That's
so anyone who's complaining that you don't want to pay for this pay-per-view, obviously you'd be missing out on Haney Lomachenko, but at least you can watch a fight like that on ESPN. I do like when they don't just have filler fights, for free and that you got to pay for everything else. I love the fact that this is the lead-in to that pay-per-view. So like if you're on the fence, maybe you watch that fight, like, oh, screw it, now I got to watch the rest of the card. Because I think all three fights on the pay-per-view are solid. This would have been a perfect fourth fight on that pay-per-view. This would have been like, okay, I absolutely have to order it. I love this fight. Nakatani is a sizable favorite. He's a lot bigger than Andrew Maloney. He's, at 5'7". He's a lot bigger than pretty much everyone at 115. I love the Maloney brothers dearly. I'm, probably more biased than any writer should be towards their careers. I don't discount the fact that Nakatani should win this fight. I think it's going to be a very good fight. This is like the one non-pay-per-view fight that I'm absolutely looking forward to. So, and this is like a type of fight, like when you have vacant belts at stake, like these are the fights you want to see. You don't want to see like these guys who just kind of hover around 1 and 2, for the sole purpose of, because it's the only way they can win a title. So this is absolutely the way you should have to win a title.
Yep. Okay, now moving on to this news that we just broke this week. Regis Prograis opponent has pulled out.
Yeah.
Do they have any possible replacements? Because Barboza's not taking a fight, so any possible replacement?
Yeah, so obviously I get this swinging for the fences. You want to, throw out the most relevant names out there. And Barboza is the most relevant, 140-pound fighter that would be available. Look, as fans, we don't want to hear about the business side. People are going to say, oh, Rick Meridian, is fucking things up for his fighters. But I get Barboza's stance. It's like, if you're going to throw him a lot of money, to take this fight on short notice, then yeah, absolutely. People say, oh, you take this fight, you change your life, but it's not like he's making, life-changing money to jump in on short notice. As the business side, we don't care. It's like, if he's not fighting, I'm not sure anyone really cares about Arnold Barboza unless he has a fight lined up. But, beyond that, I wouldn't blame him if he doesn't take the fight on short notice, especially if they're only offering whatever they were. I don't know what Liam Powell was supposed to get for this fight, but I know Regis is not at that point where you're making, where you can fight him and then retire immediately afterwards. Like, you'd still have to take 1 or 2 more fights. But the problem for someone like Barboza is, like, if he's not taking this fight. He didn't fight Liam Powell for the eliminator. So until you actually fight for the title, you're always going to be in the position where you might have to take short money. But if Matchroom is serious about the fight and they do beef up the pay, maybe we get that fight. But beyond that, no, I haven't heard any firm options. I kind of joked, I said, well, Richard Hitchens, kept saying he wants a big fight. He has a perfect opportunity for him. If he was willing to fight in July, why not take Regis? So I haven't heard, anyone from him. I'm even looking up and down the rankings, and Sergey Lipinets thinks he's getting the fight. I guess we'll just have to wait and see how things shake out. So, like I said, Barbosa put it out there. He has a number that, Matchroom would have to hit for him to take that fight on what would now become, I guess, less than 4 weeks' notice.
True. Yeah, you're not gonna get anybody quality. You don't want to get in that ring with Regis unless with a month worth of training.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you end up getting your ass beat.
Yeah, I mean, Regis has a hard enough time getting guys in, for full training camp. So,
yeah. What's another one? I was just looking it up. 1 second. Oh, we got the supposed Baturviev versus Callum Smith fight coming up in August in Quebec.
Yeah, Bob Arum was telling reporters. I know originally they were looking at July, but the way Top Rank's schedules, Top Rank schedules are already filled out for July. So we even speculated on the show that it was going to get pushed back. So yeah, off to August. I know Callum Smith's team wasn't thrilled about the way the first bid turned out, but they know it's a fight they have to take. So it is what it is. Again, he's in a position.
What weren't they thrilled about?
No, it's just, it's a little bit below, I guess, what they want. But, the bid was what it was. I thought Matchroom and Top Rank both bid very aggressively on it. So, and Callum Smith's split was always going to be what it is. But it's different, if Matchroom won the fight, then the fight takes place in Liverpool. So that kind of justifies, you're taking a little bit less money. You make up for that in ticket sales or whatever. But so now he's just going on the road for the money that he's making for this fight. But, he's fine with it. He's not pulling out of the fight. That's not like to cause any alarms by any means.
And then we get two Baturviev fights this year. Is there possibly we could get a third?
That might be asking a lot. Again, like we see, we're already talking about Valdez and Navarrete. That was a fight that was supposed to happen in February. Valdez couldn't fight, so they still had to pay Navarrete to fight. They had to pay Liam Wilson to take that fight. Now they're gonna, spend. Hopefully that fight's not on pay-per-view. I don't think there's any plans for it. So that's a pretty expensive fight for later this year. That's Top Rank is spending a lot of money, so that's. Getting better, Baturviev in the ring for a third time, it would be like, it wouldn't, obviously it's not going to be B-ball. So maybe it would be one of his other mandatories. And that's if he wins, I'm jokingly the one guy on record that's saying Callum Smith's going to end his title reign. So we got to see how August plays out first.
And so what's going on with Bivol? He's just going to wait around and see if Canelo's going to fight him or what?
That was always the plan. His, Eddie even said like their plan was to see, Canelo and Bivol in September. He's obviously willing to sit it out at this point. So, I don't get the narrative by either side that, Canelo saying he wants to fight at 160, at 175. Bivol saying, he wants to challenge for the undisputed middleweight championship. It's just, it's ridiculous posturing. I hope that it's, just, whatever, like they're just trying to throw us off the scent and that a deal is already made. But, it's been 2 weeks since Canelo's last fight. He needs a relevant opponent. They can't wait out until June 24th and then try to sell Belanga as his next opponent. Him jumping the line is just, look, it's boxing. The fights are going to, if someone wants the fight to happen bad enough, it's going to happen. But, Canelo's next fight has to be Bivol, David Benavidez, or David Morrell. There's really no justification for him fighting anyone else.
True.
So, but as for Bivol, I mean, look, Buatsi is still the number one contender. It was a fight he was offered. I understand. Even if we don't agree, I understand why he didn't want to continue with Matchroom. He took the step that he did. He gave a very forgettable performance. So if that fight is offered again, and especially if the WBA decides that's who Bivol has to fight, he better run towards that fight.
Yeah. Now, what about this guy, heavyweight champion of the world, WBC heavyweight champion of the world, coming out of hiding to talk nonsense?
Right. I look, if we didn't have, he knows the market he's speaking to. He knows that he's going to say something. UK media is going to cream themselves and they're going to write everything he says. He knows Benson's going to retweet or whatever, screenshot and tweet out everything he says and does. So he's getting the attention he's seeking. I'm not giving it any energy. I know he does want to fight in July. Joe Joyce already just kind of, ran. He jumped in front of the one opponent that seemed like he was the front runner, Big Bang Zhang. Joyce is saying he wants that rematch. So I don't even know who Tyson would fight. I know the one truthful thing he did say was that Andy Ruiz, severely priced himself out of a fight. He wanted a ridiculous amount of money. unless there is a market, to justify that, the amount that Andy Ruiz wanted. We're not getting that fight. Frank Sanchez has thrown his hat into the ring. He's always wanted to get in a position to either to fight Wilder or fight Ruiz, to fight for the title. If he's the highest ranked available contender, because we know we're not getting Fury Joshua next, not this summer. I think Fury Frank Sanchez fight would be perfect. So if he's serious about fighting in July, I would love to see him go that
route. Yeah, he's not serious.
No, he's never serious. But I know if he is pushing for them, I don't know if he's just getting antsy and he knows the Usyk fight, that's always going to be up in the air, and he doesn't want to wait until December. I think that's a perfect option. I know there's some things going too. BT Sport is in the process of rebranding. I think they're going to become, I don't know if it's going to be TNT or TNT Sport or whatever, but I don't know if that's factoring into any fights being held up. But whatever the case, if he's, like I said, if he's serious about fighting in July, Frank Sanchez to me is the best reasonable option. He's not going to price himself out of that fight.
All right. We're going to start taking questions in a few. So anybody that have questions, request. Anybody that's listening on YouTube, type your questions in the chat and I'll ask them. Another thing, Ryan Garcia changed has come in a camp with Derek James. How do you like that?
I had 5 different people send me. I can't remember whose tweet it was, but they just the mock-up of the white girl sitting there with 4 guys in the background, and Ryan was the white girl. Look, I said the same thing when Anthony Joshua joined Derek James stable. The problem is never going to be who is training them. It's going to be who adapts to that trainer. So when Ryan Garcia and Joe Goosen split, I said a perfect scenario would be, he teased the possibility of going back to Eddie Reynoso. I thought that they were a great fit up until that fell apart. Anyone who goes to Derek James, Derek James is going to be a value, but it's not going to be what Derek James can do for that fighter. It's what that fighter wants to do for themselves. So Ryan Garcia has to get outside of his own head. I'll just put it out there. His father has way too much influence over his career. He's the typical overbearing boxing father. So that's, Ryan Garcia just has to clean up his own mess. That's always going to it. To me, it doesn't matter what trainer is going to be in his corner. He's going to have to buy into the system. So, but as long as he's willing to buy into it, yes, Derek James is going to be a great fit. I just don't want to see it get to a situation where too many fighters are going. I don't really know Derek James' infrastructure. I don't know how his camp runs. If I know, with Robert Garcia, if he's not there, his son runs the show and the camp doesn't miss a beat. I don't know if that's the case with Derek James. I don't want to see him get into a situation where he's taken on too many fighters now and starting to just spread himself too thin. So I think right now he's at the perfect number of fighters in his camp. So like I said, if Ryan Garcia is serious about it, it's going to be a great fit. But if he was serious, he would still be with Eddie Reynoso, and I think it would have worked better with Joe Goosen as well. So we shall see.
Okay. Well, we had Neek comment, who she has a decent relationship with Derek James, where she said before they even agreed to it, Derek James, she's pretty sure Derek James had a long conversation with Ryan Garcia about what he expects from him and things of that nature. Okay, I will let y'all go ahead and ask the question. Go ahead, Ray.
Hey guys, my apologies if I missed this earlier in the show. I joined a little late, but I was wondering, Jake, if you knew anything about Lomachenko's obligations to Top Rank going forward. And the reason I'm asking that question is because we've heard Coach Calvin Ford mention several times that they might be interested in fighting Lomachenko pretty soon. So I was wondering if you knew how many fights he had left on his Top Rank deal.
That's actually a good question. I never even thought about that because I've been so focused on what Devin Haney does next. I guess because I've always believed that Devin Haney wins tonight. I'm just kind of waiting to see what his next move is as a free agent. I admit I know nothing about Lomachenko's contract situation. I know Top Rank seemed firmly of the belief that if there was a scenario where Shakur is fighting the winner, it would be if Lomachenko wins tonight. So take that for whatever it's worth. I'm not saying they're rooting for Lomachenko outright, but they seem to have a greater belief of a Shakur Lomachenko fight than they do of Haney and Shakur taking place next.
Thank you. Yeah, it crossed my mind, considering Lomachenko's age, if we're talking about possibly having a couple fights left, it would seem they would at least entertain the idea of fighting Davis, considering the type of money they can make in that fight. So that's where the idea came from.
I got you. Yeah, no, that's an excellent question. I will ask. I promise. I appreciate
that. I got this guy. He keeps asking about Fedor Shashishian. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
You don't know Fedor Shashishian?
Oh, the middleweight?
Yeah. He keeps asking when his next fight and why he's not fighting Adames.
That's Shirkasian, I think is his name. I think he's gonna. Damn, what fight is he gonna be on? I don't know. I don't have a firm update. I know for a while his name was rumored up until it wasn't. I don't know why he's not in the conversation.
Okay. He's asked twice about this guy. Okay, go ahead, Marshall.
How you doing, Jake? How you doing, Lefty?
I'm doing.
Yeah, right. I just wanted to ask you, see that Charles Conwell's with a got a new management team and that. I think it's Wise Owl Boxing. Are they new or have I just not heard of them?
I never heard of him up until I saw a cop's tweet before that official announcement came out. He's still with Lou DiBella though. I get he's not going to be one of these guys that are trapped with the disrupt boxing situation that's going nowhere. Charles Conwell is going to be a guy he's going to have to call people out until someone fights him. But yeah, I've never heard of that company either. They made it seem like, oh my God, what a career move. Maybe they're good outside of the sport, which is obviously, how the only way you're going to grow your profile. But no, I know nothing about them.
Yeah. All right. Cheers, mate.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. We also have a question from YouTube. He wants to know, who's that? Any word on Ennis, Jamal, and the second half of the PBC schedule?
No, definitely no update on the second. Look, PBC hasn't even figured out July yet. So we know we're getting a show July 15th. We don't know if we're getting a second show that month. We're in the same situation we were last year. The same two guys are trying to figure out how to get in the ring versus one another, and that is holding up several other opportunities. I can tell you that Boots and Charlo, who were once targeted to fight in June, neither one of them are fighting in June. I don't even know with great certainty if Boots is fighting in July.
Boots has put Miles in the bag.
Yes,
he has. Locked in since February. Lex, go ahead.
Jake, what's good, man? I jumped in a little bit late also, but my question is kind of like Ray's, except for Devin. What do you think happens with Devin if he wins tonight?
He becomes a free agent. I found it very curious. Like Eddie, I always gave Eddie credit for kind of keeping his mouth shut. Like no matter how he felt about Devin going to, doing this co-promotion with Top Rank and DiBella, he was always supportive of Devin. I found he made some very curious comments about his career. I was like, because I always thought they had a good relationship and that maybe he would go back there. Especially seeing what, the moves Matchroom's making at 140, that move would make sense. I would like to see Devin. I think he's been perfectly fine with Top Rank. I hope he sticks it out with them. I think he's going to play the free agent market and just see who puts the most money on the table.
And with that in mind, do you think he would just? I know sometimes you don't like to guess these kinds of things, but do you think he would just stay with Top Rank?
I would like to think so, but let's keep in mind too, like he got the Kambosos fight because he committed to a 3-fight deal with Top Rank. Look, Top Rank has paid him a lot of money, for this 3-fight deal, but it wasn't a one and done. So I don't even know if he can go look at PBC and say hypothetically if he fights Tank, that's the most lucrative fight for anyone in or around the 135-pound division. So I don't know if that's an option unless he would have to commit to PBC as well. So it's hard to say who he goes with. I don't know if he's going to get away with just, playing it fight by fight. He's not at that stage of his career yet. I mean, even in terms of popularity, in my opinion, look, Tank is obviously the most popular. Ryan Garcia is probably still the second most popular. Shakur is even above Devin in terms of who people are looking to fight. And Shakur is not even at the pay-per-view level yet. So this fight is pay-per-view because Devin and Lomachenko are making so much money for tonight. So, Devin still has some work to do I don't know how successfully he can play the free agent market, just trying to go on a fight-by-fight basis. I would like to see him sign with Top Rank, re-sign with Top Rank personally,
Okay. We got another question. Do Andrade and Matias have fights scheduled? We know Matias was supposedly, allegedly signing with Matchroom. Mm-hmm. Any news on that?
That is very much and I even joked the moment I saw Liam Powell got injured. I said, this is the perfect time for Matias to sign, put pen to paper with Matchroom and jump in on June 17th. I'd be very, very, but pleasantly, but very, very surprised if that's the fight we actually get. But I do fully expect Matias to sign with Matchroom, and that'll dictate when he returns. I would expect he would probably return either in July or August, but it's gonna, depend on when he signs with them. He hasn't done that yet. And who's Andrade? Yeah. He's looking for a big fight. Of all the people who I've heard that are going to be fighting July 15th, and I'm up to 14 fighters who all think they're fighting on the same show. Andrade's name is not one that has been mentioned. So if a pay-per-view show pops up at some point, whether in late July, August, whatever, I do expect Andrade to be a part of that. I don't know if we're going to get Charlo Andrade, but his name is not on the priority list of the guys I've heard they're trying to get back in the ring at the moment.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, David.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
I'm looking at Jamal Charlo now, the older Charlo. I'm looking at his record now. Last time he fought was in 2021. Surely this is like pressure from WBC now to get him back in the ring, because they might as well just strip him, because it's going on almost 2 years now. He has another fight.
Right. So we saw Mauricio actually went on record with that. He's very supportive of everything that Jamal Charlo is going through. That told us all we need to know, that he's going to keep that belt as long as he wants. And look, we all agree. I think everyone on here, I appreciate the fact that Jamal Charlo, not only that he's trying to overcome everything that he's going through, but he's been very open about it in the past couple of months. We're all sympathetic to his career, but guys have been in that same position and have been forced to give up a belt.
What's he going through?
As I've also mentioned too. Go ahead.
What's he going through? I'm a bit out of the loop on that.
There's just a lot of personal stuff. You can go look at it. He's just going through a lot of personal stuff in his life. So, and it's, it sucks that he has to go through that, but, you can't hold the title up. But at the same time, Adames, his team has to be the one beating down the WBC's door. They should have did that at the convention last year. I know they made a pitch to fight him, but it's clear the WBC is going to do nothing about it. So, someone above Adames is going to have to step in and rectify that situation. And he's going to have to be a lot more active too, because he hasn't fought since last October. Now he's fighting June. He's fighting J-Rock. That fight would theoretically have to be next, but like I said, for the WBC to come out and make a statement like that, that tells us nothing's going to happen. Jamal Charlo is not in risk of losing his title, at least until June 24th.
Okay. I also have a question about Gary Antoine Russell. Is he going to be rescheduled to fight Kent Cruz?
I admit I did not get a chance to catch the PBC podcast this week, and he was on it. I couldn't care less if he's fighting Kent Cruz or not. I'm more concerned about how he factors into this 140-pound mix, because there was a point where if he and PBC were willing to push forward, he could have been the one who was supposed to challenge for Pollo's title, and he would have been the one fighting Rolly. I don't know if Rolly would have taken that fight, but he was poised to fight for the title at some point. We'll see. I'd have to imagine he wants big fights, but I guess whenever he's fully recovered from I think it's a hand injury, we'll see what's next for him. But his career has really slowed down ever since that Bartholomew fight.
Yes, it has. We seen Bartholomew come back and beat Vargas last week. King P, you got a question?
What's going on, Lefty? What's going on, Jake? I got two questions. First one was about somebody mentioned before Charles Conwell. I saw the report about he's petitioning to the WBC to fight Brian Mendoza. What do you think the likelihood of that actually coming to fruition is?
I can see the WBC going for it. Weirdly, so Liam Smith is still ranked ahead of him. I don't understand why. He needs to get out of the way because he's clearly fighting 160. I like the idea of that because it takes less pressure off Jermell to have to worry about another mandatory. He already has to fight Tim Tszyu next. Bakram theoretically, and he claimed, he has paperwork saying he still owed a title shot. So any path where it means the undisputed champion is not at risk of getting stripped, I'm in favor of it. I know Mendoza just won the title, but it's not like he was entitled to fight Sebastian Fundora. That was a fight that Fundora offered to him. Mendoza seized the opportunity, but Charles Conwell isn't in a position where he can be challenging for these absolute final eliminators to get to the championship. So I could see the WBC going for it because it takes that pressure off of Jermell to have to worry about that WBC mandatory in the meantime.
But hasn't that other dude you mentioned kind of just been sitting on his opportunity for a while? So it's like, at what point do you just tell him to shit or get off the pot? Like, it's ridiculous.
That's up to the IBF, and I get like they're gonna do the same thing with Hrgović. Where I mean, it's less of a situation where like they had Hrgović fight this mandatory, and then they're like, well, we're gonna let him fight for an interim title because it could take a while to get to the championships. Like, well, then why do you even let him fight in a mandatory? The same thing, Baccarat fought that mandatory a long time ago, and the IBF has done nothing about it, and PBC just keeps paying the guy step aside money, and he's perfectly fine taking it. And the shame of it is he's not fighting guys that's developing his career. He's not even fighting guys good enough to where he can be televised. So it's a wasteful situation, and this is what drives me crazy about these guys getting to these mandatory positions. Like, it's more so than the champions holding these titles ransom. It's these this guy. Like, he now knows the value of what it is to give up that mandatory ranking, and he's going to sit there either until he gets. I think he's just waiting for Jamel to give up a belt and then fight for the vacant title. I mean, obviously a fight with Jamel is a big opportunity, but he's let everyone else jump ahead of him, and I could even see him. Like, if we do get this Mendoza-Charles Conwell fight, and I fully expect Conwell to win, I could see him just letting them, that guy jump the line too. So it's going to be up to the IBF to say, well, now you have to, reset your mandatory. You can't be a mandatory challenger for 4 years. That's absurd.
Ooh, that's true. All right. Thanks for joining, King TJ. You got a question?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, what's your guys' thoughts on Tyson Fury? Like, who should he face next? You guys think he should fight Usyk? Yeah.
Well, we know we're not getting the Usyk fight next. I mentioned earlier, Frank Sanchez is willing to fight him, and he's actually the highest ranked contender without a fight who would be available to fight Tyson Fury if, very big if Tyson Fury is absolutely serious about fighting in July. That's the fight I would like to see next. Not the sexiest fight, but it's a relevant name. Frank Sanchez is a legit top 10 heavyweight. So that's the fight I would like to see.
Yeah, that's a decent fight. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Sorry, I'm a little bit late to the show this week, so hopefully you're not repeating yourselves. But Matchroom 130 and 140 takeover. I don't know if that's something you've gone into. I'm obviously thinking Shaki Foster, obviously at 130. If they can get him, then there's the Joe Cordina fight there, and then obviously 140. The Matthias stuff's gone a little quiet. I don't know if there's any more updates on that.
Yes, Matthias, we did just mention that. It does seem like he's going to sign with Matchroom. I thought after we discussed it last week that it would happen a little bit sooner than has been the case so far, but I haven't heard any indication that those talks are falling apart. But I do fully expect to sign with them, and then I expect Matchroom to be aggressive about making programming Matthias sometime later this year, early next year. As far as Oshaki Foster, I think who he has the potential to fight next will dictate which direction he goes. I'd personally like to see him go the PBC route, and then like whether Hector Luis Garcia is going to fight Lamont Roach or Gary. I know that fight's going to pay-per-view next. I mean, to Pertzbin next. Maybe he could challenge that winner, or whatever. If Garcia is going to fight Gary Russell, then Foster could fight Lamont Roach maybe. So like I said, I think it's going to depend on the opportunity. I don't know how well of a fit he would be with Matchroom, and I don't like the idea of him having to sign with Matchroom just to fight Joseph Cordina, because I don't know what Matchroom necessarily does with Shaki Foster after that. I know they can maybe package him with Regis Prograis. I know they're very close, so that it could work out. But again, I don't know how big a deal it's going to be with programming.
Yeah, because I think, is it Rocky Hernandez who's his mandatory? I think
he's the mandatory, and he doesn't. His team. Look, Rocky Hernandez. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. He just got out of a situation. He's no longer trapped under that whole Probellum disrupt Kinahan mess. So he's technically a free agent. He doesn't seem to be in a hurry to enforce his mandatory though, and I don't blame him. Shaki Foster is tough out for anyone at 130.
Yeah.
So if Foster isn't locked into that fight, he's free to fight whoever he wants. But he's the type of guy though that would have to, like as we mentioned, like Devin going into the top rank of the Bella agreement, he's going to have to sign a multi-fight deal with someone to get the fight that he wants.
Yeah, cool. All right, nice one. Thanks.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate you.
Okay. Eldo wants to know, is Baumgartner and Hitchens opponent set for the 15th in Detroit?
Yeah. So I reported earlier this week that Christina Leonardo is the leading candidate to face Alicia Baumgartner. I don't know that she's accepted the fight yet, but obviously that's a big deal because she's the only one to beat Alicia Baumgartner. I was given every indication that should be the fight that will headline the July 15th show in Detroit. Hitchens, I mentioned this. I even mentioned it in my story too. They believe the fight with Montana Love is going to happen. And my understanding is that if Montana Love does not fight Hitchens, not only will he not be on that show, he'll likely become a released fighter at that point. So it's going to be, fight Hitchens or go find a way to get in the ring.
Yeah, exactly. Actually,
but now, I from where the amount there are on satisfying Montana Love's, financial demands, for a lack of a better word, I do expect that fight to happen.
Now with Gary Russell and Gary Antoine, Gary Russell is training Gary Antoine, correct?
Yes, and he's also training himself for a comeback. Yeah,
so if they fight anywhere within, say, a month or two of each other, that's like a lot of work for Gary Russell.
It is. I know. I was a little surprised. I wasn't even sure if he was going to come back. It does. All indications seem like he is. I thought he was just going to fulfill his father's legacy and just kind of, take over, for the family. But I have to imagine, like, everyone training each other is just it's truly a family affair. And I know they have, a little bit of outside help beyond that. But it's a big burden for Gary Russell Jr. But it's something he's always been willing to carry. So.
All right. I see we've made it 50 minutes into the show without anybody mentioning the fight that shall not be named. Marquise, what do you have?
My answer to that question, Lefty, man, how old was that man last Saturday night, guys? Seriously, because I heard on Showtime that he 40 is the new 30, and as a 40-year-old man, that man wasn't 40, guys. How old was that guy, Jake?
Hey, it doesn't matter, man. He gave Rolly the fight.
Gave him the business.
Yep.
But seriously, Jake, my question for you is, I saw George Gamboa reach out at Top Rank. What's his next path with him lined up?
Well, he didn't re-sign with them. He entered a new co-promotional agreement.
Oh, okay.
So he's fighting July 22nd. That's going to be his first fight under this new deal. It's going to be in Tulsa. I believe he's fighting Maxie Hughes, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, he's fighting.
Yeah, Maxie Hughes. Yes, he's headlining.
That's why I forgot about it. Okay.
I like this move for Gamboa.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. All right, we have a question from the timeline. Considering, it's from Chris Lagabich. Considering Haney's situation with Top Rank, would you expect controversy in the judge's decision? And also, is it possible that Haney back to Matchroom if he jumps to 140?
I feel like I kind of answered at least the second one. Look, Vegas doesn't need an excuse. We saw it last weekend. They don't need an excuse to have a controversial outcome. So yeah, we've seen situations play exactly as such. There is a great possibility if the fight is any kind of close that it will be shaded towards Lomachenko. I don't know how much energy I really want to give that conversation, but we know corruption in boxing exists. I hate to suggest that, the judges are just completely, outright paid for. But I do expect, I don't think Haney will be given the championship benefit of the doubt in this fight. I think that would go towards Lomachenko. He's always been the sympathetic favorite. And again, with Eddie Hearn making the comment that he did earlier in this week, I don't know if he's just trying to shit on this promotion because he's not leading it. I just found it curious that he would make the statement that he did, knowing that Haney is a free agent after this weekend.
All right. Okay, so speaking of the fight that shall not be named, your colleague at the BWAA has been on top of this story. Put out another story this week about July 29th is what they're looking forward to. Any comments on that?
So he's not wrong about that. If that fight happens, July 29th and that's going to change very quickly because we're at May 20th already. That is the absolute earliest that fight could happen. It could happen in August. It could happen in September. It cannot happen at all. Again, there's a lot of people who've been promised a lot of things. Originally, when a lot of these guys were promised the July 15th date, I think they believed we were going to get that fight. And those fights would fill up an undercard. Sergey Lipin, yes, was promised the co-feature slot for that show, for example. So if that fight gets pushed back, that's going to take all these guys who think they're fighting July 15th and cut that at least in half. And those guys would get pushed to that show or to another pay-per-view event. So again, I haven't heard the fight is dead in the water. I really wish we would stop getting updates on it. Just let them negotiate the fight and just focus on other business. I don't understand though why. Again, I said this last year. It was a situation where they needed a deadline, unless it was just a way for Showtime to admit they didn't have anything going on in the fourth quarter, and they used that as their alibi. Well, that's the reason why the whole schedule came to a grinding halt. But now we're in 2023, and we're running to the exact same situation. A bunch of fighters don't truly know when they're fighting next. Either that, or everyone has the answer, and they're just leading us all astray. But this fight is clearly holding up a lot of things right now. So.
Yeah. And also, somebody wanted to know, why is Gary Antoine Russell indefinitely suspended by New York State Athletic Commission?
That's just everyone keeps asking about that. I know there was someone who even speculated that Lomachenko was using steroids, and the commission after the Jermaine Ortiz fight, it's just something the commission does. They suspend you up until you have a fight coming up next. It's not anything you did wrong. It's just something once you fight, they place you on. It's just like a clerical thing. He's not under a real suspension.
Yeah, and they suspend everybody indefinitely.
Yeah, Erislandy Lara was suspended after his one-sided fight with Spike O'Sullivan.
Yeah, until they get another fight announced.
Exactly. Yeah, because I just see Lomachenko is no longer suspended by the New York Commission.
Okay. So, is there a possibility that if there's no not July 29th, that Spence could possibly go ahead with or without Crawford?
So that's holding up. That would depend on who he is willing to fight next. I'm not saying he's not willing to fight anyone, but the backup plan was always Keith Thurman, and Keith Thurman was given several dates, for when that fight was supposed to happen, and none of them are, and he's already looking at another option. So that's but again, everything goes back to this one fight. It's like nobody's going to make their next move until they know that fight is either happening or it's dead. So if everyone is serious about moving forward, then they need to drop that date for when that fight is going to happen. So I don't see this concerted effort, why this fight absolutely has to happen. I think once it fell apart last year, we were all comfortable with the fact, okay, well, they're just not going to fight, or if they do, they can go do it at 154. But the show needs to go on for a lot of welterweights, and no one's willing to, no one's willing to take that. Why would Keith Thurman go fight Boots if he knows there's still the opportunity to fight Errol Spence?
That's true. That's very true. Let me get this guy in. He's trying to request. I don't even know if this is a real guy. Let me see. Well, he's followed by somebody from boxing. And get up here with no bullshit, pretty boy, because my finger is on the trigger to remove you ASAP. Pretty boy, do you have a question? Pretty boy? You have to unmute your mic. It's in the lower left-hand corner, the microphone button. Going once? Going twice? Remove. I guess he didn't want that. Let me see. What's the timing? What's the time that Haney versus Loma? The ESPN pay-per-view portion starts at 10 o'clock. What time does the regular portion start?
So there's undercard fights at 6 p.m. I think that are on the app, 6 p.m. Eastern. Then 8 p.m. Eastern are the two fights on the ESPN linear channel, which is Andrew Maloney and Junto Nakatani, and then everyone's favorite middleweight, Nico Ali Walsh.
Oh, brother.
I can't even recall. Ali, his opponent is so bad, I don't even remember who it is.
All right, what's up, Broadway? Go ahead.
What's going on, Lefty? What's going on, Jake? How's everybody?
What's good?
Doing well. And Nico Ali Walsh is fighting Danny Rosenberger, for those who
and if you didn't check the boxing betting show yesterday, that fight goes the distance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Broadway.
Yeah, my question for Jake Donovan is, has he gotten a chance to see Broadway's Joel's two fantastic interviews, one with Jim Lampley and one with Al Bernstein?
I saw the one with Bernstein. I did not yet see the one with Jim Lampley.
Well,
congratulations on landing both.
Oh, thank you. I'm just saying, if you watch both those interviews, I think you would agree that that person deserves to be in the Boxing Writers Association. I'm just saying.
I agree. I'm
just saying.
You're not a writer though. You're a content creator. We're gonna wreck a boxing.
Now there's a new. Hold on.
Boxing content.
There's a new division in the Boxing Writers Association that includes, video journalists,
Correct.
So I think
we can start our own.
I think I qualified. I think I'm qualified.
You ain't got to depend on them.
You got clowns up there that that be writing bullshit, and I'm out here pumping out content that the real fans want to hear, and more people watch my videos than read their articles. So I'm just here making a statement, and I'm glad this is recorded. So
yeah, no, look, I mean, to Lefty's point too, though, I don't understand like why that hasn't been created already. It's like I'm glad it was weird because the
Jake, that's my argument from you 4 years ago, man.
Yeah, look, the BWA announced they were going to let video journalists in, and Sean Zattel is so far the only one who has made it in. He's the only one. Well, actually, we reviewed 2 other cases, but there was like so many people who applied that they didn't understand the qualifications for it that we just kind of slammed the brakes on that process.
Well, look, if Ellie sat back in it, it ain't no legitimate. Ellie setback brings legitimacy to the boxing journalist videographers.
Well, I think there's enough coverage on that side. Like, look, a lot of dinosaurs like myself, like we get like our news from a lot of video guys. Like I'll watch a Broadway Joel interview or an A-side interview, and I'll write a story based on that content. So I mean, there is a media, a need for it, but and people always going, oh well, it's the Boxing Writers Association, so it's a whole mess I really can't get into publicly. But I had to tell, like, L-Dub was someone who applied as well, and I had to tell a lot of people, like, all these applications are on hold until the panel can figure out how to properly vote on these applications.
But can't they have, like, you saying that there's people that don't understand it? Okay, well, the senior writers who do understand it, can't they be the senior board of approval?
Meaning I suggest that.
You get what I'm saying? So let's say there's a bunch of older crowds, but there's, let's say,
okay, hold on, bro. Let me get to these questions. Let me cycle these questions.
My bad.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ray.
Hey, I just wanted to clarify. You stated that the pay-per-view portion starts at 10 p.m. Eastern tonight. Does that include 3 fights or 4 fights?
3. It's the Raymond Murataya and Jeremiah Nakatila fight. It's Valdez Blue Nose rematch, and then Haney Lomachenko. 3 fight pay-per-view. Yes, sir.
Do you know the expected start time for the main event?
That would put it probably close to midnight Eastern. The other 2 fights are 10-rounders, if I'm not mistaken. And
okay.
Yeah, I know the first Valdez Blue Nose fight ended early, but there's no guarantee either one doesn't go to distance.
But there's a good possibility that both of them will not go to distance.
You think Murataya Nakatila? I don't know.
That's not going to distance. Because both of them are pretty hard hitters, and I know Murataya, he's been down a couple times, so I don't think that's going to distance. That was my pick not to go to distance. I mean, it could.
What's the odds on that not going to distance?
I think it's like minus or plus something. I don't know. I had to look it up. But yeah, I don't think it's going to distance. I think it's like minus 115 not to go to distance.
Wow.
And plus 100 to go to distance. Okay.
Gotcha.
Let me take a little break. As you can see up top on the Summer Jam screen, I have received the Chicken Talk glasses. Selling them for a pair for $20 plus $3 shipping anywhere in the United States. I'm not shipping these outside the United States unless y'all want to pay for your own shipping from so if you talk about the UK or Australia, you getting that full shipping fee. But 2 pair for $20 and $3 shipping anywhere in the United States. And Broadway Joel can attest to the fact where he just dropped down that these are high quality glasses. He has one. A-side has a couple. A lot of people have some glasses. So if y'all interested, hit me up in the DM and I'll ship them out to you. What's going on, Francisco?
What's up, guys? Good morning. How are you?
Hey, Francisco.
Good morning.
Hey, guys. So yeah, I'm here in Vegas, and it does feel like a fight weekend. You didn't need a shove from somebody. It does feel like a good weekend, and to really see some action later today at the MGM Grand. I'm on my way to the airport to pick up my wife. She went to go shoot a band in Fullerton, so she wanted to see the fight. I went to Jim Boone, great guy for tickets, broker, and now just going to go pick up my wife at the airport.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoy tonight.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Jake. How are you? Good to see you again.
Oh, thank you.
You're a good man.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Let's go. You're a good man as well.
And
Wish I was out there with you guys.
And Lefty, you're a good man too.
Thank you very much. I saw that picture of that food you posted. It looked pretty good.
Oh my! Well, that was the highlight of the night. I mean, the weigh-in was great, but just the Golden Steer top ranks Brad Goodman. He's been living in Vegas for the last 30 plus years. So he told me this is the place. And since I was kind of single last night, I'm like, well, I'm gonna try this restaurant. And yeah, if you guys are in Vegas, the Golden Steer, it's in the older part of Vegas, but it's hands down one of the better restaurants in the city. Brad Goodman wasn't lying. It's really, really good. Worth your while if you're in Vegas for a big fight here in Vegas.
I would definitely go there. I would take your recommendation and definitely go there. What's good, Box Nerd? You got something for us?
Hey, nothing much. Just was figured I'd try and get some updates on some fights. So what's going on with Dubois and his lack thereof injuries supposedly? And I figured him and Usyk would have been easy to make at least.
Yeah. So I know there was a point where they were in talks, and it seemed like it was destined to happen in July. I don't know what happened, but talks just completely stopped dead. And then it got to the point where Usyk's team was forcing a purse bid. Frank Warren was trying to, demand that the WBA extend talks, even though Usyk's team was unwilling. So now it is going to purse bid on Thursday. We're going to find out for sure. I found it very curious that Gilberto would put out that if Dubois cannot fight, then they're going to move on, because he's been a little frustrated. I know he got the medical information he received from Dubois' team. I don't know if he was just confused by the BBBC, the British Boxing Board's feedback on validating those medical records. But it seemed like at the time when he received the information he was comfortable moving forward with ordering the fight. So I don't personally understand the gamemanship. I don't understand how it went from, yes, this is absolutely the fight we want, to, just trying to completely stall out Usyk altogether. So we're gonna find out the truth on Thursday.
All right, sounds good. Oh, and one more question. Is Chocolatito's next fight already set? I remember seeing there was talk about his fight, but
it's not. Theoretically, he would be fighting Pedro Guevara, who's a former junior flyweight champion who is now a top contender at 115. That's the only fight I've really heard mentioned for Chocolatito, but I've not heard any real movement on if that fight is going to happen, and if so, when it'll happen.
Gotcha. Thanks, Jake.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. What's good, Gritty?
What up, though? What's up, Jake?
What's up, Gritty?
Hey, y'all got any info on this Charles Conwell situation with Mendoza?
Yeah, we touched on that earlier. I know I like the idea that he's pushing for that fight. Again, I'm happy that Mendoza sees the opportunity that he was giving to fight Sebastian Fundora, but it wasn't something he was necessarily entitled to. So as far as the backlog with, Charlo getting back in the ring, and then he already has 2 mandatories ahead of him. Any situation where we can, lighten the load, for an undisputed champion. I like, Conwell Mendoza for the right to eventually fight Charlo, as opposed to Mendoza just going straight to that fight.
Yeah, I think that both of them would be real good opponents.
Yeah, and I love the fact that Charles Conwell is he's not saying, oh, well, I'm number 2, I want to wait in line. He's, calling for everyone to get to that opportunity.
Right. I appreciate it. Haney decision, Valdez, KO, Morataya put on the show tonight.
Okay, you got 2 out of 3 right. Go ahead, Broadway.
What was the first pick? I'm sorry, what was his first pick?
Haney decision.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
So I know Frank Martin is scheduled to come back July 15th.
So we think.
No, he's not, you said?
So again, I keep touching on it. There's 14 fighters right now, 7 fights that all believe they're happening on July 15th. That can change if that fight eventually happens.
The fight that shall not be named?
Correct.
All right. Never mind. I was going to ask if it was going to be in Vegas, but it seems like, that's up in the air, so never mind.
Whoever is fighting July 15th will be fighting in Vegas.
Okay. All right. I'll text you later as to why I asked that question.
Of course. I get you. Yep.
Okay. Do we have any more questions?
I wanted to piggyback what Jake
hold
said.
on, one second. Broadway, you supposed to give an endorsement on my glasses.
Oh yeah. Nah, for sure, man. He definitely got some high quality glasses. If you like to drink or whatever. You know, it's funny. My mother was drinking out of it the other day. It was kind of funny to see. But yeah, nah, for sure, man. You definitely guys got to support. Even if you don't drink, like whatever, you can put whatever. You can put water, juice, and support the channel, man. You get a lot of good content from Chicken Talk and the Jake and Lefty show, and we've gotten together and we got to support each other. So definitely go support my man Lefty.
Thanks. All thanks. Yep. Appreciate it. All right, go ahead, Francisco.
So to piggyback what Jake said, Charles Conwell is here in Vegas, and I ran into Lou DiBella. So they both confirmed that. Well, DiBella's like, there's no point in. I think Liam Smith, he's the mandatory for the WBC 154, and he said, well, there's no point in him because now Liam Smith is fighting in a rematch. The British fighter that I can't think off the top of my head. Correct. So Lou DiBella said it only makes sense now that Charles Conwell fights Brian Mendoza. So I asked Charles, and he said, you know what? I want to fight, and I want that fight. It makes sense because I have nothing lined up, and Brian has nothing lined up. So, yeah, like Jake said, kudos to Charles that he doesn't want to wait around. It does make sense for him to have that fight against Brian Mendoza next.
Yeah, and also Jay, what's up with his new management situation? Is it like a joint with Lou?
Well, Lou's the promoter. I don't know who this. I can't even remember the name. Owl City, Owl Wise, whatever they are. I don't know who they are. I don't know why they're supposed to be a big deal.
Yeah, and is he new? Because I looked him up. I can only see that he got Charles Conwell. I didn't see anyone else he's managing.
As long as I'm not missing something, then I'm fine with that. Again, I don't get the big significance of why we're supposed to care. That I get. It's great that he has a new manager, but I just don't understand why I'm supposed to care. I don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah, they announced it. I'm like, who is he? Like,
yeah, outside the ring, that's great. If they're gonna raise his profile, that's fantastic. But as far as his boxing career goes, I don't know what foothold they have. I don't see what they're gonna do for him that Lou DiBella already can.
Time is ticking, guys. Time is ticking. You might. How old is Conwell? Like 25, 26?
He's 25, I believe.
27. Before you know it, you're 35. I mean, it goes by fast. You know who's a good example of that? Andrade. I mean, he went from 26, 27 to like 30 something quick.
Yeah, he's like 34 or something. Like, wow, where the time go?
Yep, where did the time go?
Why is Al?
To be fair, they did lose like close to a year on COVID.
Yeah, still. What was you saying, Jake?
Wise Owl Boxing is the name of the company.
Oh, okay. No Benny Billions. Ain't that what's Regis' manager's name? Benny Billions?
Oh, Benji Billions, yeah.
Yeah, Benji Billions.
Yeah. Mark Habibi is a Buddhist monk.
Oh, God. All right, man. Yeah, I'm about to get a headache.
Cool story.
All right. Anybody else got anything before we wrap it up? Any interviews you got coming up Broadway? Marquise, Francisco?
No, I got nothing this weekend. I'm just watching the fights like everybody else.
Okay. All right. Let me get everybody's prediction. Jake?
Katie Taylor by decision, and Devin Haney. A lot of people are bringing up the point for everything that Devin Haney's done. It's like he should not stop.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't see him stop.
If Haney, Lomachenko's a draw.
Ooh.
Okay. A draw? That's a very interesting pick. Marquise?
No, I'm going to say for I'm going to Haney decision. He looked huge on the scale yesterday. I can't oversee that.
Broadway?
What was the question?
Prediction for tonight.
I got Haney winning a decision 8-4 or Loma by robbery. One of those two. I see Haney winning 8-4.
King P?
Haney by unanimous decision.
Okay. Box Nerd?
I'm sort of leaning Loma, close decision, like really close.
Okay. Nonchalant?
I got Katie.
Yeah.
I got Katie, and I think That's a 50-50 fight with Loma and Devin, but I think it's gonna go to the cards.
You got Haney. A-side.
Hey, I got Haney round 11 stoppage, and more importantly, I know y'all gonna think I'm crazy. I got Chantel Cameron over Katie Taylor in Ireland, in Dublin. Chantel Cameron.
I do too, True. Chantel Cameron for the win.
I'm going to say this. It's not crazy. Look, she has a similar work rate to like Amanda Serrano. I guess my thing is like if Amanda couldn't win a decision in New York City, I just don't see how Chantel's going to win a decision in Dublin.
That's where I'm at with it.
I don't discount the possibility of Chantel outworking Katie.
That's where I'm at with it.
She could do it for 10 rounds. Yeah.
But Chantel's a lot is bigger, and Katie's going up to 140 and older. And Chantel, we saw her beat McCaskill's ass, who's bigger than Katie. So yeah.
That fight really fell apart in the 9th and 10th round, though.
But in the fight,
so y'all banking on her to dominate Katie in a homecoming fight? She's gonna have to completely cook her.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
Nah,
all right, Hitman.
So I got Haney, and he better win by either majority decision or 11th round stoppage.
Okay. Who else? Let me get Ray up here.
Hold on, I got Loma. I think Haney's gonna try and impose himself, and that's what he might make a mistake. So I got Loma by UD.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it. MD. I think it's gonna be one rogue judge, but I'm gonna go ahead and drop down.
Yeah, my bet is costing on a rogue judge.
Ray?
Devin Haney by decision. I also want to clarify, Jake. Katie Taylor in Dublin. Is this the first major boxing event in Ireland since like 2018?
Yes.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, there's not been a fight of this significance even since, obviously the shooting and everything else that Kinahan has done to ruin anything in Ireland.
All right, y'all ready for the winning ticket tonight? Valdez points. Matariev Nakatali not to go the distance, and Loma by stoppage. Wow. Cash that ticket in, and you will win your couple $100. Thanks for joining the show. We will have the after fight show, the Loma victory celebration show space as soon as the fight is done. All right, y'all.
You're gonna make J-Ro just completely fucking delete his
J-Ro
account.
owed me $100 if Loma stops him. J-Ro owes me $100. I've been trying to tell him stop. I've been trying to let him get out of that bet for weeks. But he want to keep pushing forward with it, so we'll see.
Yeah.
If he
I want to
wins
give
or
a
if he
shout out.
stops him.
I want to give a shout out to Ray Jackson. So Alicia Baumgartner posted a pic. In the past couple of days, Ray showed amazing restraint and not getting himself blocked again. So shout out to you, Ray.
All right, y'all take it easy, man.
Thanks, I appreciate it.